Good evening. We thank you all for attending tonight's regular board meeting. This time we'll call our meeting to order. Renee, if you would show all board members present, please. And if you would join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. This time we have a couple of board salutes. Some folks in our community, students, teachers, community programs that are doing great things, and we want to recognize a few of those. Mr. White, would you please salute our Administration Building Spirit Committee?
Very happily. The board would like to recognize employees from our administration building for their going above and beyond to support our students and also local charities. Every Friday for the past 10 years, employees have paid $1 to dress in spirit wear, which has raised approximately $14,500 for local charities such as Crusade for Children, Blessings in a Backpack, GCCS Educational Foundation, Diabetes Foundation, and many more. These employees have also facilitated an Angel Tree program during Christmas for the past 8 years and provided over 2,500 gifts to Greater Clark students and families. Most recently, the employees donated over 60 boxes of Valentine's Day cards to distribute to elementary students across the district to guarantee their participation in classroom celebrations. The board salutes the Administration Building Spirit Committee for coordinating these wonderful efforts. Thank you.
At this time, Margie Fetter should be here. Please come forward. And Renee Markowski, please come forward.
And at this time, Ms. Perkins, would you like to recognize Maple?
Yes, I would. This past weekend was a great weekend for Maple Elementary, and the board would like to salute the Maple Elementary boys basketball team for winning the Greater Clark County Schools boys basketball tournament on Saturday, February 23rd. The team, coached by Jeff Shepard, was undefeated this season with a 6-0 record. Team members include, and I apologize if I mispronounce someone's name, Michael Anderson, Tyler Buchanan, Bernard Ford, Corian Gray, Jacob Jones, David Jumper, Robert Lee III, Corian Mitchell, Travis Oglesby Jr., Travis Oglesby, Malik White, Jacoby Wood, and Marta Vias Jones. I probably messed that one up, didn't I? Congratulations, Maple Elementary.
And I've had a little background experience in basketball throughout my life.
play center.
For you families that were with us tonight to recognize and celebrate your child's accomplishment, we do realize that they have I-STEP testing in the morning, so we release you to get rest.
Don't forget breakfast.
It's not really snowing out there either. It's stopped. No, it's set that for it's supposed to come back.
Just for information, we do have two other salutes on our agenda, but both of those students were unable to attend tonight, so we're going to move those to April. With that, we need an approval of tonight's agenda, and before I ask for that, I do move to separate out the executive session minutes and the special meeting minutes for a separate vote. I need to abstain on the 15th or 19th meeting since I wasn't in attendance. So I would ask.
Motion to accept as requested.
All right, thank you, Mr. Satterley. Any other agenda items up that anyone needs adjusted? Okay, so Mr. Satterley's made a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. White. All in favor? All right, thank you. That's 7-0. So with that, we'll go ahead and take executive session minutes from the 5th. Need a motion to approve
Motion
those?
to accept.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, that's 7-0. And then if we could take the executive session minutes of the 19th. Need a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, and one abstention. Next, we have regular meeting minutes from the 5th. Need a motion on that?
Move to accept.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pavey. Any discussion? All in favor? And
I wasn't here.
and one abstention for Mrs. Kraft? All right. And then next we have the special meeting, which was February 19th. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
And a second? Mrs. Kraft, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? And one abstention. All right, thank you all very much. Tonight we do not have any public comments on agenda items. Is that correct, Renee? All right. So next we have the consent agenda, items 1 through 5. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to accept.
All right, thank you, Mr. Satterley.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hall, thank you. Any questions or discussion? All right, all in favor of approving consent agenda H, items 1 through 5 as presented? And opposed? And
Sorry, I forgot to vote.
that's okay. Let's do that one more time.
Thinking, okay.
All in favor? All right, 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have gifts to buildings. Mr. Satterley?
I don't have a copy of it.
I have it.
You don't have my copy?
Yes, I have. Here.
Well, as everybody knows, we've separated this from the consent agenda because we talked about it every time and we had to pull it every time, so we might as well just separate it. Looks like New Washington Middle High School got a couple of donations from Grayson and Tim McDonald. I'm going to briefly touch on that Tim McDonald thing. It was a Jerry Blaine presentation where Tim brought in a Secret Service agent that was on the Kennedy detail to speak to our high schools. That was interesting. If you didn't get a chance to go, that was a wonderful speech. I think the children really got an idea of what 50 years ago history, how it affects them today. So Tim needs congratulations for setting that up. And then you get...
Your take on that would be different than mine, since I remember everything he said.
Remember everything? Who said?
The gentleman.
Kennedy?
No. I probably remember that too. That's kind of scary too. It's like, oh well, this is my night to be on a roll, I can tell you. Yes. Well, anyway, I could.
It was good, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was very good.
You're just a kid. You know that.
I'm just a kid.
All right.
It's okay. I move to accept.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any other discussion? All in favor of accepting tonight's gifts as presented? Thank you, 7-0.
Okay.
All right. Next we have board comments. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Board comments? Don't those usually come at the end? Is that in the right place? I'm thinking no.
You want to move those to the end?
We'll move item J to the
She said board report.
to be after item M. All right. Next we have action items. Unclaimed property affidavit. Ms. Lewis?
Thank you. As you know, Dr. Dykel's always looking for money. Turns over all those rocks and stones and sees what he can find, and he's done it again, and we're very happy to announce that the Kentucky State Treasurer Unclaimed Property Division has $808.41 that belongs to Greater Clark County Schools. So what we need the board to do this evening is to authorize via an affidavit the filing for the recovery of those monies, and to give Dr. Dykel the permission to file the claim to get the monies back. So we'll have another $800 in our account. So we just need your permission to move forward with that, please.
Mrs. Kraft, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Satterley, thank you. Any questions or discussion? All right, all in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Dykel.
7-0. Next we have a revision to policy 5111.1, and this is a second reading, so it will require a vote.
That's correct, and basically this one has been before you on a couple of different occasions. In light of moving to the balanced calendar, we'll implement beginning in the 13-14 school year. We need to make changes in the dates, and we had highlighted those for you in yellow. Rather than having date specifics for different entrance questionnaires and different deadlines for kindergarten admission, we're going to use language like the second Friday in May, the second Friday in June, the second Friday in August, or those types of things rather than a date specific. So unless you have questions or ask for additional changes, it's ready for your approval this evening, please.
Move to accept.
Thank you, Mr. White. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions or discussion on policy 5111.1? All right, all in favor? 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate your work on that. Next, we have the official naming of the Bridgepoint basketball court.
Board, at this time, I'd like Bridgepoint Principal Jennifer O'Brien and Mr. Ron Denman to come forward. Mr. Denman is retiring, and he announced his retirement in January, and he's been an educator for 30 years, and 27 of those have been with our school corporation. And from that point, I would like Mrs. O'Brien to sort of talk through why Mr. Denman is here this evening to be honored.
So it was my first year to be at Bridgepoint, and right away it was very clear the number of people, both colleagues that are still working with Ron, both along with students of all ages working with Ron, even current staff members that are former students. And the amount of compassion, dedication that he's given for the past 27 years. So all of those years that he's been with Greater Clark and many more prior to that has included him being part of the basketball program. So, and we got to get out of here because I usually get none.
We know that.
Being a first-year principal, not knowing, but definitely very grateful to have had the
Oh.
And at the end of it, we wanted to be sure he had all the things he needed in his retirement years, and since he's in grandpa, we put him in an IU rocking chair and surrounded him with all the things he'll need to take care of his new grandbaby and still cheer for IU. And even Tom Crane has sent some things from the IU athletic office there to, again, put his eyes on him and know that he's got a lot of rooting to do, so.
Board, I guess what we would like to do is, per policy, to make this official, we would very much like to recommend to you as a board that you approve the official naming of the Bridgepoint basketball court as the Ron Denman Court.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Mr. Hall, seconded by Mr. White. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Really, to be honest with you, the only way I was able to do that for 27 years is I've had a lot of help from parents and had the opportunity of working with a lot of great kids. If you've ever been to an elementary basketball game, it takes the whole staff to put a game on, and concessions and doors and all that I never had to deal with because I was always coaching. And I've always been lucky with the people that's helped me. One of them's here. Jessica Cooley. I've had, my dad was assistant coach with me for quite a few years. Steve Curry, former employee here. I've had former students come back that actually helped me coach. So I've been very lucky. It's just been a joint effort. I'm honored that some people thought that much of me. Really, Chris out ever done anything to deserve this honor except just take the help that's going to give to you. But I do want to thank everyone for the opportunity, and I definitely want to thank you.
All right, and if you'll bear with us, we're actually going to move back up to item D under board salutes and recognize a student that is deserving of a salute from Jeffersonville High School. Mr. Pavey, would you take that one, please?
I would be honored to do that. Congratulations to Jeffersonville High School student Alexia Simmons, who has been selected as the Boys and Girls Club of Kentuckiana 2013 Youth of the Year. Alexia attends the club daily and has been a member for over 7 years. Youth of the Year is the premier recognition program for club members, promoting service to the club, community, and family, academic success, strong moral character, life goals, and poise and public speaking ability. After graduating from Jeffersonville High School, Alexia plans to attend Vanderbilt University to major in pre-med to become a doctor. The board salutes Alexia Simmons.
What a great honor to be the Kentuckiana
we will jump back down to action items, and we are on K, item 4, Men Building Men.
Board, we've had an opportunity to help a group of students in our school corporation through a program called Men Building Men. And it's a mentoring program that's designed to meet the needs of at-risk youth, predominantly males. As you know, we have a disproportionality issue in terms of the number of suspensions in our school corporation that we've been addressing. And that disproportionality comes in the form of our African American male population. And so Mr. Hare and I had a couple of meetings with a group. They're out of Louisville, called Men Building Men, and they are designed to bring mentoring services to that specific population. And although we are in the process of hopefully by next school year getting a more comprehensive mentoring program implemented in our school corporation as part of our impact program, we have an immediate need now to help these individuals. Now, Men Building Men is not just focused on African American males, but it is focused on males. And so at Parkview, River Valley, and at Clark County Middle High School, this contract would provide for weekly meetings with students identified at each of those schools, roughly about 20 students. They'll go through a process there, and then each student will have a mentoring relationship opportunity outside of school with parental permission, parental support, and so on. So these are weekly meetings that occur in school with the group, and then also there's the potential for the group to have individual mentoring that occurs only with family or parent permission outside. This is we feel it's a need that exists now to help a group of individuals in our school corporation that very much need it. And it would be my hope that this is something that you would consider supporting. As I mentioned, we'll be meeting in April on the 17th with a group to look at developing a community-based mentoring program that would benefit all of our students. But that won't be in place, or a program like it, until next year. So this is something that we can get started, and it can take effect for the rest of the school year. So it would be my hope that you give this an opportunity. We will measure the effectiveness through attendance metrics, discipline metrics, grade metrics. We'll have these measured with all the students identified in the program and see from the time the program's initiated until the end of the year to see what kind of impact it has made. If it's making the positive impact that we think is possible, then we'll come back to you, we'll report out to you, and see what you think about the future. If we feel that it's not making the difference that it needs to make, of course, we'll report that as well. So it'd be my hope that you at least give this an opportunity, because the funding for this, it's $3,600 for the rest of the year, but the State Department of Education, through their special education department, provides funding, grant funding, because of the disproportionality issue. So we'll fund this through that grant. So it's no cost to our general fund.
I'll make a motion to accept. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Shire.
Sorry, Darren.
Is there a second? Mrs. Kraft? Any questions or discussion?
Dr. Millen, just a couple comments. So we're looking at this as being a trial, basically. The only part about this that concerns me is the fact we don't have any provisions for female students, and this is absolutely built for male students only. I'm sure they're a great organization. I absolutely understand the need is there, but I do have some concerns about that. So just so noted, if you would, that perhaps down the road we can make sure that the female population also has some type of mentoring program available. That's my only concern with it.
We will do everything in our power. We know that part of our impact program has to be providing mentoring opportunities for our students, and as I said, it needs to be a comprehensive opportunity at all age levels, male and female, all all demographic groups. So we do understand that, but we've just not had the opportunity to investigate those options yet this year. So I truly understand and respect your concern, and we will definitely do something about that.
In reading the agreement, it says that the students are going to be taken out of their morning classes, 45 minutes. Is that going to be, I mean, what is that going to do with their academics? How are they going to make that up?
Do you want to address that?
As Dr. Mellon stated, we've had a couple of meetings with Men Building Men, and before we brought it to the board, we wanted to make sure our buildings understood. So we have met with counselors in each of those buildings, and they are working it out in the schedules with those kids to try to avoid that. I mean, clearly it's going to be during the day. They're going to miss something, whether it be a related arts or you know, a regular class. We're going to try to do the related arts. We're also going to try to move it into a little bit of that. We have that period zero time built in, so we can get them there, start a little bit early. But they're going to work with us in the mornings primarily. So we certainly discussed that, and it will be once a week, but to make sure it's those 20. You know, the whole point is to help support them academically as well. So it doesn't make good sense to pull them out of academics and let that fall while we're doing this. So certainly that's been a big piece that we've talked probably the most about at great length.
And there is a mistake in the agreement. In one place it says 2 middle schools, and another place it says 3 middle schools.
Okay. We'll fix it. It's the it's the 2 and the alternative is what it'll be. So it'll be those 3.
Questions I have. At the end of this agreement, it says that also there's a hourly rate of $150 to $200 an hour to be charged. What is?
I think that was the sample, wasn't it? Was that just that separate sheet, Mr. Hall? There was a sample sheet that they put in there as part of a packet, and that's not part of the agreement. I think I'm correct.
Okay.
We've checked several times to make sure that $3,600 was our commitment, and so we'll verify that. But everything that we've heard from them.
Well, that's definitely it. And what they do is they normally charge $200 per school per session. So that would, and we're basically getting it for half the price because it's a new partnership for both of us.
It talks about guest speakers. Who has control of the guest speakers? What type of guest speakers are going to be speaking to our kids?
They have a repertoire of guest speakers that they utilize, and certainly as we are going to line those 12 weeks out. We had our initial meeting to make sure it made sense to our counselors. Then we felt like we needed to bring it to the board before we spent any more time, and then so our next step will be, really it's going to need to start next week, is to kind of put those together. And certainly we could attach that in a Friday update, exactly who it is, but it is going to be a partnership where we'll work together, but it primarily will come from them. The founder of this Men Building Men started the West End Louisville Boys Choir, and has quite a repertoire over there and is very well respected over there through the Jefferson County Public Schools. He's actually a retired Jefferson County Public School teacher. And then kind of the guy he's the one that started it, and the founder and the person that's running it now, Frank Porter, is a retired Marine, and really has some great credentials. I mean, they're a pretty dynamic group.
And looking at this, we're not helping the females in Jeffersonville. We're not helping Charlestown Middle School kids. We're not helping New Washington Middle School kids. Why wouldn't we look for a program that would help all of these? And if there isn't, have we investigated our own staffing? If our own staffing at the 3 schools is not sufficient, why not make changes with our own staffing to better support these students?
I think that, you know, our plan of attack moving forward, as I said, is the development of a mentoring program that will cover all of Greater Clark County. That's a big undertaking because really what we're looking for is volunteers from the business community as well as from grandparents, relatives. We need to really work hard at identifying these individuals, putting them through a training program, making sure it's coordinated. I've been through this process before, and it's a great program, but it just takes a lot of energy and time. And whether or not this Indiana Youth Institute is coming down April 17th, and we are going to go to a meeting related to this community mentoring program, and that will help give us a better sense of some things. But it is our plan that we will provide a mentoring program for all of our kids, hopefully by the start of next school year. That would be our plan. So we know right now we're focused on a particular group, but that's not what we see as a long-term solution from a mentoring perspective.
Mr. White, did you have any questions? Mrs. Kraft?
No, I'd just like to say that that's just public education. What you're saying is, we see a problem, it's probably not of our doing, but we have the problem. So we're going to do what we can in public education to solve that problem. We have many, many areas that we are working in that aren't necessarily our areas and weren't for many, many years. But we can't correct. We are a reflection of the community. That is what we are. So, but as public education people, we take that seriously, and I appreciate your doing that.
Mr. Satterley, did you have a question?
No.
All right. The only question I have is, once we've identified our at-risk students who are going to participate, then Men to Men will match those students, and then do those men then have to go through our background check process before they will be able to meet with our students?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And also, it'll be critical that the parents, because that any one-to-one time would be with parental authority and permission. So the time that we're providing to the program is group during the week. And so any individual mentoring relationship would be approved and authorized by the parent. And but we'll make sure that we'll work with parents. We'll communicate this, because obviously we care so much about our students, and hopefully this will make a difference in their lives. So we'll be careful as we move forward.
Well, I'll just say, as a single mother who raised 2 boys, there's one thing I can't do for my sons. I cannot teach them how to be men. And so I recognize and appreciate the opportunity for these young men to have an opportunity to look at men and get an idea of what that is supposed to look like. So I'm grateful that we're doing that for our students.
Yeah, I do have a question. Just because you brought it up, I just want a clear answer, if you don't mind. We will do our background check. Okay.
Yes.
I don't want to rely on Jefferson County. Not that I don't trust them, but I don't trust them.
Yes.
Okay.
No, and for the record, I enter in Jefferson County, and I had to have one over there too. So
Yeah, we'll make sure that all background checks are completed and approved.
Any other questions or discussion on men building men? All right, all in favor? And opposed? So that's 6-1. All right, thank you. Next we have school-age child care provider agreement.
Board, if, as you recall, Communities in Schools is our current Greater Clark County Schools school-age child care provider. And Indiana Code requires school corporations to provide opportunities for nonprofit organizations to enter and offer latchkey types of programs. So by policy, we put out a request for proposals on May 14th of 2012. The board did approve on June 19th of 2012 an agreement with Communities in Schools to be our provider. Now this agreement allows for a provision with 2 annual renewals. And this recommendation is the first annual renewal. So I would like to recommend to you that we approve Communities in Schools to be our Greater Clark County Schools school-age child care provider for the 2013-14 school year.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Perkins, thank you. Is there a second? Mrs. Kraft? Any questions or discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Next we have the 2013 summer school proposal. What
we have for summer school is we have a program that we would like to enter into at the high school level. With our new balanced calendar, what we're seeing is the need to have one session this summer because school will officially start on August 1st, so we want to offer one session of summer school at the high school level. That's what we're talking about initially right now. And it would be able to provide, there'd be a morning and an afternoon session. They would be 3 hours in length, both morning and the afternoon. It would be provided for credit recovery purposes predominantly, but also could be used for end-of-course exam remediation in Algebra 1 as well as in English 10. So the proposal focuses at the high school level currently, and we are still looking at what we might want to get accomplished at a elementary and middle school level even yet this summer. But we're not prepared at this point to bring that to you. So tonight's proposal is to allow us to move forward on a 2013 summer school program, which we've submitted and given you a recommendation in writing.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Pavey. Is there a second? Mr. Hall?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have 2013-14 balanced calendar intersessions.
Board, if you remember at our last meeting, we gave a pretty in-depth presentation related to the intersession proposal that would start next school year and would run both in the fall for a week and in the spring. And so at this point, we know that we want to give you some time to process and think through it. And it would be our hope that you would approve that recommendation tonight so that we can begin doing the work that we need to do to get ourselves prepared.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. White. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Satterley, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Just so you all know, I wasn't at the last meeting, and so I did not hear the presentation. However, Dr. Mellon did graciously spend about 40 minutes with me reviewing this, so I will be making an educated vote tonight. Just wanted you to know.
Good deal.
All in favor? All right, 7-0. Thank you. Approval of e-learning regional conference contractor. Whoa. Hold on. Thank you. Approval of e-learning regional conference speakers contract.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's a mouthful right there. As you know, Board, you approved us holding an e-learning regional conference, and now what we need to do is make sure we secure the speakers. And so we have 3 speakers that have been lined up. Greatly appreciate the work of our Director of Technology, Brett Clark, who's really coordinating all of this. The speakers have great credentials. The 2 keynote speakers are Timothy Gwynn and Nicholas Provenzano. They would be paid $2,000 for their speaking plus expenses. And there's also a spotlight speaker who's Thomas Whitby. That's $500 plus expenses. Keep in mind, Board, that all of these expenses are being paid through a grant from the Indiana Department of Education, but we do need to get your approval on these agreements so we can lock them in and get them committed for the July 25th conference.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. Is there a second, Mrs. Kraft? Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
Just remember to save us a seat.
You got to stay right front row.
No, you don't have to do that. In the back.
Do we have any idea of the topic of the keynote speakers yet?
This would be revolved around technology integration
Okay.
in classrooms. Nicholas and Ken are going to co-keynote together. Nick is a high school English arts teacher, was listening to 2013 of a college in Michigan organization, technology teacher of the year for technology integration. And then Tim from North Carolina, he is technology integration coach at elementary school. So they're going to be focusing on technology in their classroom.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor? All right, that's 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have a cloud service agreement with Agosto Incorporated, and that's for the Chromebooks.
But yes, what we're doing is, as you know, we've been researching one-to-one initiative, and one of the potential pieces of hardware that we're looking at is a Google Chromebook. Well, there's a company called Agosto Incorporated, and this company serves as the engineering certified partner for Google. Well, for us to get some Chromebooks in so that we are properly testing them, and again, keep in mind, we have not made a final decision on Chromebooks, but in order for us to keep moving forward, then we have to have a cloud services agreement with this company in order to do this. So there's no commitment being made to our whole district going to Chromebook at this point, but we have to have this agreement as we continue to go through the evaluations.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Hall, thank you. Is there a second? Mr. White, thank you. Questions?
Yeah, one. I was trying to read it earlier, but we're paying $249 a piece for these. Can you explain why? Just because on Google you can get them for $199. So, what are we getting for the $50 more device?
My understanding that this is Samsung 3. It's almost the newest model of the Samsung Chromebooks. Let's see what price you're getting.
Pull up. You got a chance to pull up Google? You can pull up Google Chromebooks and it says 100. Okay. Well, I looked at one this afternoon on Google Chromebooks and it said $199. So maybe I'm looking at something different. But I trust you. Just get the best one. That doesn't surprise me. They're marking them up for you.
So there's the Acer, probably the one that you saw.
It could be.
And that's this is a different brand. This is the Samsung one. It doesn't have as many ports. It also doesn't have as good of a processor as the Samsung. So with like the $50 extra price of the Samsung versus the Acer, you're getting a little bit prettier of a case. You're getting extra USB port, HDMI input, and a better processor.
So take that.
Sounds good.
So there you go.
He understands.
Yeah, actually, I got it. I understood that. So.
Brett, help me out on what we're approving tonight. Are we approving the 10 Chromebooks? I mean, I see that we've got a cloud services agreement, so I'm not sure what we're approving.
So the two pieces involved in this. Okay. Whenever you evaluate a one-to-one device, you have the device for the students we use and teachers we use, and you also have the management side of it, so that we can push out apps and push out applications, and so that we can properly monitor the devices to comply with SERPA and all this stuff like that. And so this cloud agreement is what we use to get the management software of this. And so the $249 covers the cost of the device, so we can get it into more hands of teachers, also some of our administrators and hands of students. And then the extra $30 per device is a one-time fee that allows us to have the Chrome operating system, so that Jason and Scott in our IT department can practice and see if this could be a feasible option for us management side, so we know exactly what all is entailed before we make any kind of wholesale decision.
Okay. So that's all inclusive of the amount we're paying for the Chromebooks.
And it's, if you look on the estimate, it actually says 15, because we had previously purchased 5 Chromebooks, and they were in the hands of our STCs for this last month. And so that's going to allow us to then, again, have 15 operating systems, management pieces, so we can manage all 15 of those, so we can see what it would be like if we go this route for our students and our staff.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Now, we're not eliminating the chance to have iPads.
No.
We're not eliminating that. We're still going to investigate that, because doesn't our staff, doesn't our teachers have iPad now in the system? And
there are a good number of iPads in our system, and so we've been investigating in heavily 3 different devices. We've looked at the iPad, we've been investigating the Microsoft Surface, and then also the Chromebook. And those are our first 3 things that we're looking at, and one of those 3 might be the right choice for our students and our staff and our corporation, and this is something else we need to look at. But those are the 3 that we're looking at first,
And so we've already seen a little bit of what it takes to manage an iPad because of our experience with iPads over in the district. And so now we need to see what it would take to manage Chrome devices on a larger scale.
Yeah. You know, I understand that. To me, it would seem that this should have been done before we gave teachers their iPads. So, you know, we should have investigated the Chrome, the iPad, other devices and said, okay, here's what we're going to go with. Here they are. Play around with them for a year, and then we're going to look to pass them on down to the students. So it just seemed it could be confusing for an educator being in the classroom and, all right, I'm ready to go with my iPad. Oh, now I got to switch for this other device.
Well, I think part of the point is also that, you know, the more devices we can have through school, while we want to look to have a one-to-one option for our staff and students, you know, we live in a society today that lives off multiple devices, multiple platforms. And so the more exposure we can give our staff and our students to multiple platforms, because they might leave this job force and go to a place that operates on Google Chrome. They might leave our schools and go to a college that is all Apple devices. And so while it's important we have a consistent device and a one-to-one movement, I think it's also important we get as many different types of devices in the hands of our teachers, in the hands of our students, so they have experience with all these things.
Sure. And the other thing, too, I want to mention is that's why Brett has been hired, because I think that we didn't have a consistent, common direction, focus. We've done different things in different places in different ways, and that's not to make a value judgment of any of those things. It's just that we brought Brett in and we've said, Brett, we want to look at what would be the best approach for all of our students and our staff moving forward. So the other issue that we'll have to bring forward to you, hopefully in the relatively near future, is we need to really be looking at cost factor, because the cost factors of whatever device we choose to use will be really important as we try to spread the one-to-one initiative throughout as much of our corporation as possible. So I think it's, just so you know, we've not made any final decisions, but I feel really good about what Brett has done in terms of facilitating, sort of getting the devices out there and getting them in people's hands so we can make the best decision we can.
Okay, Brett, here's your next assignment, should you accept. Figure out a way for Dell to make online payments. Online payments to Dell.
I can do a lot of things. I don't know if I'm not quite that much of a miracle worker.
Right. I have faith in you.
All right.
So.
Sure.
Any other questions before we take a vote? All right. All in favor? Thank you, 7-0.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Summer Food Service Program.
Board, we are recommending that we make application as a school corporation to the Department of Education Summer Food Service Program. Again, Board, this is a program providing meals to all individuals 18 and under in our community during the summertime as well as during intersessions at no cost. And in fact, what it does for us is it is a great thing for our community, providing meals, breakfasts, and lunch. And from a financial perspective, there's no cost to our school corporation. It's a good deal.
I would like to make that motion, and I would like to elaborate on that a little bit, if it's okay. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us, but I wanted to call to your attention a new documentary on hunger in the United States. It's called A Place at the Table. We are under the perception that this is a marginalized group of people that are facing hunger, and at this point, the documentary states that there are 50 million people in this country that are hungry. And we oftentimes, it says, we associate hunger and obesity. They often appear in the same people because the processed food has decreased. The amount of money that you pay for it has decreased by 40%, and the fresh food has increased by that. So that stands to reason why it would be happening. So some of the solutions the documentary is suggesting is expanding food stamps and ensuring that all children that qualify for free lunch have access to free lunch, and implementing nutrition education, re-examining farm subsidies, and revising guidelines for the federal food assistance. That's one reason I support the program, and I would like to volunteer as a school board member to look into this further. I would appreciate being on somebody's team to find out if we really are having that kind of problem with hunger in our corporation or in our area, and if that is indeed having something to do with children's attention span. We know it does, and I would just like to offer my services in that respect.
Well, thank you very much. Our food service operation has been outstanding. This week we've been offering free breakfast to students because of ISTEP. I believe 5,100 breakfasts on Monday and 52. So, I mean, you know, we're doing a great job with it, and the fact that the federal government is providing this additional support so that during summers and intersessions we can keep feeding kids breakfast and lunch. It's an outstanding program.
Yes.
So we need to make application, board, in order for us to continue to do that, and so I'm asking permission to do so.
Second.
There was a motion and a second by Mr. Satterley. Any other discussion? All in favor? All right. Last on action is contract with Covert Hawkins Architects.
Board, if you remember, we have a roof leak problem at Jeff High over our auditorium that's caused a lot of problems, a lot of damage. And as that has been looked at by insulated roofing contractors, they've identified the source of the leak as the structure itself. But we need to have an architect come in and actually look at how do we redesign that structure to solve that problem. And so our recommendation is that we approve a contract with Covert Hawkins in the amount of $3,500, and they will do the necessary work to develop the means to solve and resolve the problem that's existing there.
I'll move to accept.
Motion made by Mr. Satterley, second Mr. White. Any questions? All in favor? And opposed? 6-1. Thank you. All right, and we have our strategic plan presentation.
And board, we've been excited. I have a lot of people out in the audience who are here too because they're part of our committee. What we're going to do this evening is we are going to sort of put together a team-based presentation. I want to just give you a little preface. 5 months has been our time frame. We've worked on this for about 5 months. We've held 10 meetings. Those meetings were all at 7 in the morning until 8:30. So we have very strong, tough people that approach, that come to those meetings. We have had 100. We invited 101 people to participate. We've had about 76 of them that have participated relatively consistently. So that was excellent. And we did form 4 subcommittees, and those subcommittees had to develop an action plan. Before we get to the first action plan, though, I'd like to talk about mission and vision. Board, we've had a mission that was developed for our school corporation, the premier provider of education. And as you know, board, we've had some conversation. We talked about this not only with you as a board, but with our executive team. We also brought it forth to get some feedback from our strategic planning committee. So part of what we'd like to at least propose moving forward to tie this all together is a new vision statement that our vision is to become nationally recognized as a premier provider of education by serving as the bridge connecting stakeholders to ensure all students are college and career ready. We want to become nationally recognized, not just in the state of Indiana, but nationally recognized. That's our goal, that's our vision, that's what we're striving to become. We want to connect people in our community, all of our stakeholders being that bridge, and we want to make sure all of our students are college and career ready. So that's a proposed vision statement we'd like for you to consider as we move forward. We have a proposed mission statement and that is for stakeholders to give 100% effort in meeting the academic and behavioral needs of each student, ensuring acceptance to a post-secondary opportunity. We expect 100% of ourselves. We expect 100% of our students. We need to do that on a daily basis. We want to meet the academic and behavioral needs of each student, each and every student. And we want to make sure when they leave Greater Clark County schools that they've been accepted to a post-secondary opportunity. That could be a 4-year college, a 2-year college, apprenticeship program, the military, etc. But that's the mission. That's what we're doing on a daily basis in terms of helping us achieve our vision. So that's a proposed mission statement we would very much like you to consider. At this point, I'm going to turn it over and have Mr. Hare, who is the facilitator of our Facilities and Technology Subcommittee, go from there. Absolutely.
Anyone from the Strategic Planning, the Facilities and Technology Subcommittee? I saw a couple of my team. If you'd stand and be recognized. You want me to help you? Let me do. Could you come forward, please? This is going to be how we're going to do this. We don't have everyone present, and we're thankful that you're present. But what we want to do is we want to give each of you a lifetime pass to all activities, and as a way to say thank you. Yeah, see, now you're all coming forward. Sure, Michelle. Sure.
That's great work.
Absolutely. Jennifer. Right there.
Don't be leaving out Miss Cunningham now.
No, we just passed it. I get to go first because I had the best committee, right, Mr. Pavey? No pressure there.
Thank you.
We focused on facilities and technology as our subcommittee, and we came up with 3 goals. 1 goal for technology, 1 goal for facilities, and then 1 goal that kind of encumbered both of them. We met several times, and we started out, we used a lot of chart paper with my group. I think we did a lot of facilitation. We looked at a lot of what were the buzzwords, what were the keywords, what were the key statements, what is it that we wanted to really capture first. So we had a lot of brainstorming that we did, and then we went back and we put that and we did a little wordsmithing and to make them goals and action steps. So I want to talk about our first goal. And we did make, and I think all of the SMART goals really for the strategic plan are SMART goals. So the first goal is by August 2014, equitable access technology will be available to 100% of faculty, staff, students, and parents so that education is enhanced and learning is facilitated. And we talked about how do you go about doing that, and that's where the action steps come in. One of the first things that we're going to need to do is gather information. I think most of the school communities is aware that we do a yearly survey. A lot of this information will come back from the yearly surveys that we do. We'll audit each building to see how much access teacher and staff and the students have. Again, gathering the information. And then we want to use that technology survey to audit the data to set minimum standards. And we really spent a lot of time about could we come up with what the minimum standards were, and we really struggled with this because we really wanted to say we want every classroom to have this and this and that, but it was hard to do that without having that base knowledge. So as we structured this plan, we said let's get the information and then use that information to make those decisions. A big part of that is something that we've talked about already, and that's implementing and sustaining. And I think sustaining is the key word. A 1-to-1 program starting in 2013 and 14 for grades 6 through 12 at a minimum. And along with that, and it's something Mr. Hall talked about, to create a plan for ongoing professional development for our teachers to make sure that they have professional development they need. We would like to see the district create e-learning coaches, and these are folks that have opportunities to work with the staff and work with the teachers, work with our students as we implement technology throughout the district. And then as the year rolls around, to collect annual data to determine a success and the next steps, so that we're constantly monitoring our success and our next steps with data. And then identify and develop community partners. As this rolls out, we need to look for community partners. Are there community partners that we can partner with that have hot spots? Are there community partners that need web pages designed? Are there partners that need some type of technology that we can offer? So we want to talk to that. And then we thought one of the last things, and certainly it's not the last thing on our mind, but we did put it in here, and that was to ensure that IT support matches the device. Because too often we just throw devices and throw things out there and we don't have the support that IT needs to develop that. So those were our action steps with the goals, with goal number 1. Goal number 2 was our facilities goal, and it was said by the start of the 2018-19 school year, all facilities will continue to provide and promote a safe and quality environment for the education of students as defined by the long-range facilities plan. And that long-range facilities plan is where we want it to start. And we started by retaining a vendor to conduct a building and facilities district-wide long-range assessment plan. We really feel like that the last time we had that done, it's probably been 6 or 7 years ago, and it's time to update that with our buildings, because we've done a lot of renovations, and then also with our student population. At that point, again, we'll take that information and set minimal, equitable standards for all facilities. And we also talked about aesthetically. What do we want our buildings to look like? Not only functionally, but what they look like. And we'll get that information from that vendor. And then we want to rank current facilities based upon the future vision. What do we mean by that? You know, what are the priorities? This plan would drive our decisions and would help the board as you make decisions for our facilities. Number 4 was to implement recommendations made by the facility assessment. And why do we think that was important? And it kind of has something to do with a couple of these, but we did not want to go out and solicit a vendor and come up with a plan and then say, we really don't like that plan, or, ooh, those are some tough decisions we don't want to make. If we're going to do this, then we want to fully implement this plan and move forward, so that it's not just something that we pay for and put on a shelf, but it's something that we actually need to use and, again, drives our decision making. So that was a big part of this. Number 5, one of our groups didn't like our wording on number 5, and we said, the heck with you, we're going to leave it in there anyway, because it's important, because we use these words because it does something for us, and that was establish a vehicle or an avenue that will implement recommendations by the facilities assessment. And what does that mean? It's a vehicle, it's the car, it's the engine. It's going to drive what we want to do. It's how we put this plan into motion. It's how we make it come alive and how we put action to this plan. So we wanted to use that kind of as a mental image, that's the vehicle. That's how we're going to get to where we need to go. We also wanted to conduct a trend or marketability study to balance student enrollment throughout the district. And we had a long conversation, and one of the parents, and it was a parent that spoke up and said, you know what, if it's time to talk about consolidation and construction and balance, and that's what it takes to become a marketable school district, then it's time to have those tough conversations. So we put that in there, and what that means is, you know, we have some elementary schools that some of those kids go to Parkview and some go to River Valley and Jeff. And, you know, those decisions that were made way back when, maybe we need to look at making different decisions now, because a lot of kids, as they finish up their 5th grade year and get ready to go to 6th grade, and I've got a buddy, and that person's going to go to River Valley, I'm going to Parkview, then they have different conversations. So that was in an effort to keep those folks here in our school district. And then the last couple of things were to collect and analyze data on the feeder schools and the hubs, and that was kind of what I just alluded to, and then optimize building utilization. And that's just, you know, our buildings get used a lot, and to revisit those plans as those occur. Goal number 3 is a little bit simpler, and it's just that says by the end of each school year. So we didn't say a particular year, but at the end of each school year, Greater Clark County Schools will complete a district-wide evaluation and revision of the current technology and facilities. Again, so that these documents don't just sit on a shelf and collect dust. We felt like it was important to make it a goal that annually we were going to sit down and we're going to review it when it comes to technology and facilities, because we know how hard it is to keep up with the technology. But technology is changing so rapidly. So how do you do that? And how do you do that on an annual basis? And it involves gathering information from our stakeholders, providing summaries, and then breaking down that information by building, so that we can really pinpoint what it is that we need to work on when it comes to technology and facilities. So those are the 3 goals and our action plans. And again, our group, I thought they did a great job. They had a lot of great suggestions. I appreciate all their hard work it was a really a good group and a worthwhile activity. So.
Any questions? We thought it might be best if you had any questions that we do it after each subcommittee presentation.
You can tell us what you really wanted to say, Mark.
I think you did a wonderful job.
On that one statement.
No, that wasn't me.
Thanks, Travis.
Next is our finance subcommittee and Dr. Deichel.
If our group would stand and come up here for your free lifetime pass, that only costs you $20.
Your name's on that list. They don't even give you one of those when you get up there.
And Teresa, you didn't stand.
I know. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, I did. Thank you. It's a great group to work with.
Thank you.
Wow.
I think we had the best group. I don't care what Travis says. When we looked at ours, we had some major discussions on our strategic plan for finance. We had some fights. We came out bloodied at times. Mike and I were rolling around in the hallway, fighting it out. Jim and I, So anyway, when you look at ours, our first two are kind of similar. By 2018, Greater Clark County Schools will have the state recommended 8% cash balance in the district's general fund. And we picked 2018 because that gives us 5 years to get to there. We're not sure if it'll come in 2014. We hope to have a balanced budget by the end of 2014 and then start growing our cash balance so that by 2018 we can actually get up to that 5%, which would be about $3.5 million. I'm sorry, 8% would be about $5.2 million. When you look at the action steps, we need to review all staffing and benefits to improve our efficiencies. We're currently doing that now. We're meeting with all the principals, we're going over all the staffing, and then we're going to start looking at other things too that we need to do. We need to conduct a study of the financial impact of outsourcing food service, custodial, transportation, see what the savings could generate to the school district. I'm not saying we're going to do it. It's going to be something we need to look at and then present it to the board. Conduct a capacity study in cooperation with other groups like the facility one, Travis's group, to determine the efficiencies or inefficiencies of our schools. We need to look at that. We do have a lot of schools. And the fourth one is to position the district to retain and attract students to increase enrollment, and that would be more in cooperation with the PR committee, that group that would have to do that. When you look at the second one, again, it's very similar. By 2018, Greater Clark County Schools will have a 5% cash balance in the district's rainy day fund. So as we start improving our efficiencies and all these other funds, we can start moving that money over to the rainy day fund so that we can position ourselves so that when we do have some downturn years from the state or whatever, or tax caps really affect us, we can actually take the money out of the rainy day fund and not affect any operations of our schools, so it doesn't impact our students. Again, the first three are all the exact same. Review the staffing and benefits, conduct the facility studies, for the various groups, and conduct a capacity study in cooperation with other subcommittees. The third group that we have, or the third goal, I should say, is we want to be mindful stewards of the taxpayers' money. And that's evidenced in our local state audits, and we also want to maintain highest student achievement. We don't want to go in and start cutting back everything and then seeing our test scores drop. We want to maintain high test scores, and we want to have the money for it. Now, I've always been told it's been impossible to get a perfect audit. But my counterpart in New Albany, Floyd, has gotten a perfect audit, which I always thought was unheard of. So it can be achieved, so we will strive for a perfect audit. That means no exceptions on our audit by the State Board of Accounts. That means everything the principals do will affect me, and my job depends on it. So
no pressure.
No pressure, none. Now, I gotta tell you, this next audit isn't on me because I started August 5th. So it only goes through June 30th, so I'm okay on this one yet. It'll be the next 2-year audit is mine. What we really need to start looking at is to showcase results using our data dashboards in the finance department. We do have our budget posted on the internet, so if you go to Greater Clark County Schools, you'll see our budget posted there. We need to educate our constituents regarding our fiscal management. What are we actually doing to try to save money and make sure that we're using taxpayer money wisely? And then we need to identify key components of a quality educational system, and we have some information on that we can also present. We also need to demonstrate fiscal responsibility by having audits with no exceptions, as I stated earlier. And we need to maximize whatever money we can. You know, we found $808. You know, it's not a big drop in the bucket when you're looking at a $65 million general fund. We're turning over every rock, looking to see what's out there. But we want to maximize our vocational, academic honors, and technical honors money. That's money just sitting there. It's like the low-hanging fruit that we can just pluck if we just get these kids going through these classes. Technical honors, academic honors, it's $900 a student. Vocational classes, if we run more students through the vocational program, we can actually get a bigger increase in our general fund for that. Our fourth goal, Greater Clark County Schools is a significant partner as an economic driver in Clark County and will enhance partnerships annually with businesses, industry, and local taxing entities in the share of tax dollars. And we truly believe this. Why do people come to Clark County? Hopefully because of the school system. And I'm not talking about Greater Clark or West Clark. West Clark or Westville. Clarksville. Okay, I'm still not used to all these names. In Lake County, we have 16 school districts, so we only have 3 down here that I have to worry about. Some of the things that we talked about in our action steps was to research possible projects and partnerships to improve security through technology. There's different organizations out there, urban enterprise zones, TIF districts that we need to start talking to and seeing if we can tap into some of that money. Aggressively pursue TIF money in urban enterprise zones by attending and presenting to local redevelopment commissions, highlighting the economic development benefits of the district, how we are a partner with them. Educate the community and employees of potential partnerships. Up north, if you were an employee of BP Amico, for example, you could actually ask for a donation of $200 per year to your school system or to your school. Things like that. We don't know what is actually out there if we have something like that with some of our companies in our district. Develop other partnerships with communities and businesses. And this isn't the finance committee, but this is a recommendation from our group, so that would be someone else that would have to do it, because I saw my name was on here for a lot of things. Greater Clark County Schools will advocate annually for realistic state funding for all educational programs, and that's something we really have to do. You know, we're getting about $5,400 per student in the general fund, but it's going down every year. Now, is it because of vouchers? Is it because of charter schools? Yeah, that's part of it too, but we're also a declining school corporation, and we need to bring and attract more students back in. We need to become that economic driver in our school district to attract more people to come into our school district. When the bridge opens up, that should be a big economic boost to our community and to our county. So hopefully we should start seeing a big surge in new homes. Our assessed valuation is dropping. We dropped another $100 and some million in 2013's budget. So these are things that are affecting us. Some of the things that we have to do in the action steps is to bring Greater Clark County schools, teachers, administrators, and other advocates for education together to discuss lobbying platforms. Bring area legislators together for the platform presentation and expand the presentation by inviting other schools to share their data and legislators. What we were talking about here was creating our own group internally, coming up with how we're going to present the information, then bring our local legislators in and say, this is how the budget's affecting Greater Clark. And then expand it even further, bring in West Clark, Clarksville, New Albany, Floyd, and bring in our area legislators. Now we have a group of schools, a big group of schools, that I think our legislators will listen to. And that's, I think that was our last one.
Any questions for Dr. Dykle?
I just have my name up there a lot of times.
It was all intentional. There's a purpose. All right. Next, public relations and marketing. Both Aaron Bajorquez and Sandy Lewis were the facilitators.
And I believe we only have 2 committee members that are with us. So Frank Denton and Julie Strait. Did I miss anyone else? And I have to just agree with Tom and Travis. We have the best committee. They were quite talkative, so talkative that I believe we adopted our goals a week after the rest of the committee adopted theirs. When we began this process, we started with a SWOT analysis, which identifies the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for the school corporation. Our subcommittee really relied on that information to build our goals. So if you can look at goal number 1, actually I'll start, community perception with that SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis was identified as a top weakness by all 4 subcommittees during the SWOT analysis, and 3 of the 4 subcommittees also identified community perception as a top threat. So that's how we established goal number 1, which is Greater Clark County Schools will improve its community perception to increase student population by 1% each year. And if you want to look over at your action steps, our first action step we felt was to develop a long-term marketing plan. We do have a current existing communications plan that was developed under Dr. Bennett, but we felt in the day and age we are right now, it's almost a competitive market out there. We need a long-term marketing plan. And a few of our principals, if you want to read the rest of it, it says, and identify professional development opportunities and needs. A few of our principals that sat on the committee felt it was important that after this marketing plan was developed, that we go into the building and actually lead PD maybe through their period 0 to talk with their teachers how to better market the district. Step number 2, identify and poll families that have left Greater Clark to attend another school district. This has already begun. We have started to identify those families, but into next school year we'll start to poll, whether it be through a survey, a phone call, that kind of thing. Number 3 is showcase the schools. We'll hold open houses, build realtor relationships, highlight secondary opportunities to the feeder schools, and promote academics through extracurricular events. One open house that we've had was the Premier Week. We've had 60 families visit during that week. We've also targeted kindergarten students, which we talked about in the board retreat. And as of yesterday, we have 283 kindergartners registered for next school year. So that's worked very well. Number 4, we said to enhance video production in the Channel 25 program. It's that existing WJHS. We just need to build on that a lot more to share our message through video. It's a lot easier to do. And then work with the technology department to redesign the district's website. Our current website, I believe, is around 6 years old, and this process has already started. Brett and Amy and I have met a few times to discuss it, and we'll actually meet again next week, so we hope to bring something to you all for the start of next school year. And then Sandy is going to talk about goal number 2.
We did have a great committee. It was, and they did love to talk about all the issues. And we realized very quickly that PR and marketing flows over into all of the other aspects of our strategic planning that we were doing. We ended up breaking down into subgroups to discuss different topics and found that to be very successful. But our goal number 2 that we kind of brought forward through our SWOT analysis was the need for partnerships and expanding partnerships. And 2 specifically says we'll expand and enhance partnerships annually with families to retain current enrollment. So we were looking at the family relationship and partnerships. And in our action steps, ways to accomplish that was to promote our student achievement using our current standard data, graduation data, and then to promote that and promote opportunities that we've had with student achievement, promote more information as far as achievement through our data dashboards and other formats. promote school safety, implement the community safety events with emergency personnel present. As you know, we've got that underway, but it needs to be built on. It needs to grow. We're looking at more partnerships with our police and fire and expanding that countywide, and to keep our parents and our families informed about the safety aspects that we have in place in our buildings. Many times in our SWOT analysis, people would say that they were fearful that our schools weren't safe, like at our middle and our high schools. And what we did was we can show and we can demonstrate what we have in place to ensure safety of our staff and our students in our buildings. So those are things we'll look at promoting and building on. And then building personal relationships with the parents. And we'll pull from our PTO groups, our PTA groups. We'll continue listening sessions where the superintendent and other staff go out into the buildings and into the communities to gain information from parents about what their concerns are and what we can do to enhance and address those concerns. Class news updates. You know, we have our Parent Connect that goes out on a weekly basis, but build on the things that we have in place. Look annually about recruiting more volunteers through our PTOs and PTAs to get that information out there. And then our last action step in this category was utilize School Messenger and other media outlets to do more promotion and more partnering with our parents. And then we'll go back to number 3.
Another thing that was identified in the SWOT analysis was to build on our business and community partnerships. So that's how we came up with goal number 3, which is by 2018, Greater Clark County Schools will formalize partnerships with businesses and community organizations. Just speaking for myself, you know, I deal with the foundation, so I know what businesses to go to when I need something funded. But we have so many different partnerships throughout the corporation. We just feel that there's a need to gather all that data. It needs, you know, each principal needs to bring that information together. So the first step that we've identified, is to identify current and established partnerships and corporation supporters. Our second step is to determine and evaluate possible partnerships. And the third action step is to promote opportunities to businesses to fund or participate in school-specific programs. And this doesn't have to be monetary in nature if we go back to the mentoring discussion, those type of partnerships. And then our last action step for that was each school develop 1 new partnership per year.
No questions? Okay.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Our last group is our Student Achievement and Instruction Subcommittee, and both Mrs. Schnepp and also Ms. Schellenberg will present.
Let's have our group stand up. Our best group.
Christina? Yes, ma'am.
We fought so much we knocked John down during our discussion. We entered John.
Yeah.
I did. Our group was the student achievement, and you know, obviously the focus of ours, you know, dealing with how to improve the student achievement of the corporation as a whole. And really, when you think about the work that's done in the schools, the strategic planning concept for student achievement, every school is required by law to create a school improvement plan annually. So the concept of strategic planning at the school level is not new. When we looked at it from a corporation level, we really had to look at, even though this was a 5-year plan, what are some things that we needed to target as a corporation, kind of broadly, that would kind of keep our focus, and what could we accomplish somewhat in a quick turnaround time that would help guide our schools as they're dealing with creating their own plans. So our first goal was to look at our graduation rate and to We established that by 2018 that our graduation rate will meet or exceed the state goal and ensure that all graduates are accepted to post-secondary education or employment opportunities. And I think Dr. Mellon has done a great job of explaining this, that if you're the number 1 graduate in the class or number 800, we want to make sure that if that number 800 has a job with Amazon, we want to recognize that. We want every kid to be accepted somewhere. And so we want to make sure over the last probably 7 to 8 years, the state of Indiana has really emphasized college prep, and we probably have lost touch with our tech prep or career prep. So we need to do a little bit of work in upgrading and updating our career curriculum. So that's what our number 1 action step is going to be, is really getting a comprehensive career curriculum back in place, and that's where our target is going to be. We have in place in the district an instructional cabinet made up of classroom teachers and administrators who meet every Friday morning for 90 minutes, and we tackle issues in the district. And one of our next issues that we'll be tackling is this concept of career curriculum. We think we have a pretty consistent model in place headed into next school year for our secondary, but we need to look at our elementary. So that's our number 1 target.
Along those same lines, good evening. Along those same lines, as we look at kids moving from high school to career or to college, one of the things we don't want to miss out on is 21st century scholars. And when we started to look at that, we realized that we have a lot of kids out there that maybe won't have the opportunity to go to school unless they have some kind of funding. And one of the ways to do that is 21st century scholars. So we are really going to focus on that. And we're going to look at our 7th graders and our 8th graders and make sure that they get signed up for this. And if you know that program, it's for low-income students to get the opportunity to have their tuition paid. And their criteria they have to meet, including right now for our 11th and 12th graders, it would be maintaining a 2.0 and filling out all the proper forms, etc. For our younger students, it's going to be a 2.5 grade level. But if they do that, they get 4 years of college paid for. So we want to make sure that we track every one of these kids, make sure they're signed up for it, and that we make sure that they're meeting that goal every year, so that at least quarterly we're checking on them. So that's really an important and good way to move us towards that having kids go on to college. And from the other end, we looked at, gosh, you know what? The earlier we can meet the needs of kids, the better. So we decided that what would be ideal is to look at our 4-year-olds. Can we get them into school? And if you've been watching the papers, the legislature have been looking at, will we have a 4-year-old funding model? At the federal level, there's some talk of funding. There's also talk at the state level. So we want to build on that. We want to create a team. We want to have a goal to get every 4-year-old in school, and we want to make sure that we look at every funding source. We form a team to get there, that we do our research, and then ideally we work with all our community to have a common curriculum for our 4-year-olds. So for anyone that enters our schools, they come ready.
Finally, I think in order to address the graduation rate, we would be remiss if we didn't deal with the issue of literacy and the fact that one of the reasons we lose students so early is the fact that their reading level falls behind. Currently, our instructional cabinet is dealing with this issue of literacy, and we are trying to develop a consistent district-wide literacy framework for implementation for next year that's going to guide the instruction of what we believe are kind of our non-negotiables or our, we've had a lot of training in the different buildings around literacy, but we want to make sure that no matter what school you go to in Greater Clark, that we have an active literacy program in every classroom. So we have pre-reading strategies, during reading strategies, post-reading strategies, regardless of the content area. We believe in literacy, and we believe that we need to make sure that it's very consistent for our students going through. So that's in order to support the graduation goal, or increasing our graduation rate is one of our goals that we need to take into consideration, this literacy piece. That's goal number 1.
Okay. Goal number 2 is that by 2018, all our schools will maintain an A rating as defined by the Indiana Department of Ed. And we've been working on this all along, and you look out here and we already have some A schools, and we definitely want to maintain them. But beyond that, those schools that aren't A's, we want to start working with them to make sure that they get there, and our principals have been working hard on that. To get to that, we're going to continue to enhance our goal clarity process. We're going to use our impact program, not only for academics but also for behavior, to make sure kids get what they need in order to achieve better. And then we also talked about the fact that every school looks a little different, and not everybody has equitable resources. So we really want to look at that and establish what our current level of services are, and then make sure that we build towards giving equal resources to each of our schools.
Our third goal goes along with classroom instruction, and it's that by 2018, all certified staff will be rated as effective or highly effective using the district's evaluation system. This in part goes with the changes in legislation for teacher evaluation. We have 650 plus teachers in the district, and we are currently piloting the RISE evaluation model. So far this year, we have almost 2,000 teacher evaluations that have been done by our principals in the system. There's a continuous feedback model that's in place where teachers are getting feedback regarding what principals have seen. So there's a dialogue that's going on constantly on ways to improve the effectiveness of instruction. It's a great way to say we're always trying to get better. I think to have this, it's an ambitious goal, but we have really strong teachers out there, and to just set ourselves up to say we're good, but we always want to get better, to have that set up as a goal, I think is just a remarkable way to say, to put ourselves out there just as a model for continuous improvement. So.
And last, one of the best things about Greater Clark, I think, is that we are a very diverse group of people. And we want to enhance that. And by 2018, Greater Clark Schools will reflect a diverse faculty that recognizes and respects the broad cultural difference of students. And again, as we've talked through this whole process, that's one of the things we're proudest of in Greater Clark, that we have a diverse group of kids, and we want to make sure that we're giving them what they need. And to that end, we want to establish a community-wide diversity committee that takes in all the demographics of our community, so that we have good representation. We want our Human Resources Department to develop a recruiting process that focuses on attracting and hiring minority candidates. And last, we want to use the Instructional Cabinet and the Diversity Committee to determine activities that promote different cultures, as well as to establish professional development that focuses on culturally responsive curriculum and classroom management.
One of the highlights of our committee was the fact that we had a student from New Washington who served and made almost every meeting, and we made sure that we got his input on just about every piece, and he was lovely, and just what a great addition, and really gave us some great perspective on what we were doing. So it was really a pleasure to be a part of this. Thank you.
One of the things, too, from a graduation rate perspective, the state just released its graduation rates, and our graduation rate for Greater Clark is about 88%, and that's over a 10% improvement over last year. So I think we've already made some great inroads, not where we want to be yet, but we are certainly a 10% improvement in graduation rate over the past year has been outstanding. I know you may have some questions. I just want to make sure everyone sees that there's a blank column on this template, and that's actual results. And what will happen is at the end of the year and in the middle of every year, we're going to be filling in the column, and we're going to be showing you what we're accomplishing. And we're also going to identify the things that we're not accomplishing and be able to explain to you and explain to our public why that may be happening. So while we're going to celebrate the successes of achieving this growth and improvement in our corporation, we're also going to acknowledge and recognize that we're going to have to maybe not always be as successful as we want to be, and we're going to have to sort of take a step back and figure out why that is. We're never going to give up on this process. It's a continuous improvement process. It will constantly be changing. It's not going to end up ever being much prettier than what you're seeing here. but it's not how beautiful it looks. It's really the substance of what's inside the document. I cannot tell you how proud I am of our committee members. They did a tremendous job in developing this plan. But also, our executive team, in terms of their leadership, facilitating these groups, was outstanding. Very, very proud of our executive team for their leadership going through this entire process. And board, we know we threw a lot at you. We want to give you a couple of weeks to process through it, ask questions. We would like to be able to bring it back to you at our next meeting for your consideration and approval, so we can continue to be strong in implementing this plan of attack. So I don't know if you had any other questions at this point. I know we've just covered a lot of ground.
Thank you.
Okay. Good work.
Thank you all very much. All right. Do we have a public comment? Okay. This time we'd like to welcome Ms. Wagner. Ms. Wagner, for public comments, I just want to let you know at about 2.5 minutes you're going to hear a buzz, and that's just a pre-warning for you to let you know that you've got another 30 seconds to wrap up your presentation. All right, thank you.
Hello, my name is Victoria Wagner, and I'm a parent. My daughter went to Spring Hill, and then she's currently at Parkview. And the reason I'm here is I have a few concerns about some things that I noticed in policy regarding tobacco issues and also the alternative school. If you're referring to the paper, it states, about the actual policy. I kind of disagree with the way that it's written, so that's why I'm commenting on it. And I would like the board to make some consideration as to how it's actually written, because I don't think it's beneficial for a child to be out of the school and not be able to do their own work. From what I've heard secondhand is that on occasion that the children are in the alternative placement and they have busy work as opposed to their own work. And I don't see how that's beneficial to any child not to do their own work. I've also heard that there is no transportation to the site, but if the child attends options, they have transportation to and from, and that doesn't make any sense to me. If those are children that are bringing weapons to school or fighting or whatever they're doing and going to options, and they have transportation, and someone who has a different offense where they're going to the alternative school, they have no way to get there other than the parent being inconvenienced. I'm a single parent, and I'm trying to make a living. And it just makes it very difficult, and having heard also other people saying the same thing, so that's why I'm bringing it up. In addition, because of the policy, I'm bringing up the fact that a lot of kids are actually smoking, and they're starting to smoke very young. Some of them as young as 4th, 5th grade. And by the time they're in high school, it's gotten progressively worse to the point where it affects academic, health, and ultimately it affects the school corporation by having students that are missing out on their education. And I'm asking the school board to consider having a smoking cessation program that starts around 5th grade, because there should be some kind of funding grants or something. And having talked to some of the nurses around the school corporation, they are available to help provide services. So that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm asking you to consider. And I also had a little bit of information attached for you to review.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner. Ms. Wagner, just so you know, typically our board doesn't respond to public comments at meetings, but normally we charge our superintendent or assistant superintendent with getting with you within the next few days to help try to resolve your concern. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Just didn't want you to think we were ignoring you. All right. At this time, we have board comments. Mr. Hall.
Well, I'm going to be quick, 9 minutes before tip-off. But I'd like to congratulate New Washington High School. They hosted a girls' sectional. The girls' varsity basketball team, sectional champs. Charlestown High School hosted the boys' sectional, and it's a big event. And then for the Jeffersonville boys' basketball team, went in a sectional and playing this weekend at the regional. Congratulations.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes, I'd just like to again thank the Food Services Department. When I read about that in the paper, or I guess it was in one of your memos, I just think that's an incredible thing to do for our students, to provide them free breakfast during ISTEP, and kudos to you. Thank you.
Mr. White?
I want to thank most of you in this room, except for a few of us that weren't on the committees, for all of your hard work. I'm really looking forward to the implementation of what you all have put together, and that constant evaluation. I think it's going to be great for what we're going to do in the future. And Tony touched on sports. I'd like to encourage you to go out to some of the plays this weekend too. Jeff High is putting on Grease, and Charlestown is putting on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I knew I'd get it right. So use your passes.
We're going.
Thank you all for coming.
Mrs. Kraft?
No, thank you.
Mr. Satterley?
Tony, I'm going to take about 2.5 minutes, so you're going to have to bear with me. Because I've asked many times what Mr. Hare and what Mr. Mellon do when they go on school walkthroughs. And I found a video this week that shows it.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm going to play
it.
Oh,
This is a good one.
So you get to see their little dance moves, and I hope you enjoy it.
Take a test the easy way. All you need is a pencil. You don't need no pen. That's why you're going to win. Because you worked so hard and you done your best. That's why you'll pass the test.
Everybody pause now. Everybody pause now. Give me the pencil. Give me the pencil. Everybody pause now. Everybody pause now. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Everybody pause now. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Here is the test. Back my face. I supply an effect and I don't waste time. Off the chart on acuity. Pass to the rhythm. Pass to the rhythm. Pass. And I'm in bed on time. Blowing your mind. This is my chance. Come on and dance. Pirates, grab a test. Don't wait. Evaluate. Report, explain, and then formulate. Trying to get a pass to move your class to a high score. So yo, what's up? Hands in the air. Everybody over here. Everybody over there. I said live in effect. Makes me groove. Pirates, people in the house. Move.
Left to right, walking your mind. Come on, let's test it, baby. If your brain takes control, let the pencil move.
I don't want to take any more of your time, but I had to share that, and if you want the link to share with any of your staff, feel free to email me. I will forward it to you. And next year, I think we were talking about having a contest for the best video. I think that's
I think if this
who the dancers are.
superintendent stuff doesn't work out, Dr. Mellon, you could maybe be a dancer.
I think I should have went on a walk.
I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree.
Thank you. My wife would too, thank
Yeah.
you.
And
Now
that's-
Travis,
that's-
on the other hand.
Yeah, now he has.
He's got it. Yeah.
And that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, well, Mr. Pavey and I are going to try to follow that up. Mr. Pavey?
I have nothing.
Nothing at all?
No.
Okay. All
I
right.
I had
follow
nightmares,
that.
Andy.
I practice daily. Can't really tell,
Doesn't
but.
show.
We were having a pretty positive meeting till that happened.
Robert, Aramark, all of our food services employees, thank you so much for giving our children breakfast. We greatly appreciate it. We know they all perform better with a full tank, so thank you. And also, I just wanted to thank the strategic plan members that did come tonight. I know it's difficult to get up and attend at 7 in the morning, but you did it, and you did it with consistency. And so all parents, community members, staff, and even the student, we greatly appreciate your support and your input, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we make that all come together to make Greater Clark a better place. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Mellon.
I really have nothing more to add, other than going and getting another dance lesson, maybe or two. But board, thank you. The Jerry Blaine presentation, I know many of you were able to get to one of his presentations that was mentioned earlier. Thank you for doing that. Junior Achievement Dinner, we had a table there. I appreciate board members for attending. Appreciate what you're doing to support our schools and our students. Appreciate it very much.
And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Mrs. Kraft in a second. Mr. Hall, all in favor?
Okay.